Hi there, this is Climate's Effect, Day 1. This is our second unit. We are just beginning our Climate's Effect lab, but we have some quick warm-up questions. So see if you can remember the 8 levels of classification. Remember, we use the mnemonic, Dear King Philip came over for good spaghetti, or something like that. You got to come up with your own as well, so that can help you figure out the words that you're looking for. You can pause if you want. And here's our classification. We have a domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And remember, when we're talking genus and species, that's our scientific binomial nomenclature that we use when we are identifying organisms. And we want the genus to be capitalized and the species is not capitalized. So if we have Homo sapiens, Homo is the genus, it's capitalized. Sapiens is not capitalized. And when we handwrite, we underline, but when we type, we italicize the genus and the species. All right, so domain is our biggest classification. And so we have 3 domains, bacteria, eukarya, and archaea. Archaea, again, are those organisms that can live in extreme environments. All right, so thinking back, what does eukaryotic mean? Eukaryotic means that it has a nucleus, a true actual nucleus. And prokaryotic means it's a cell that does not have an actual nucleus. All right, so that's thinking back to the beginning of the school year, but those are things you want to try to test yourself on every once in a while to see what you remember. All right, during this lesson today, if you're taking notes in a notebook, if you see this cute little symbol that says take note, go ahead and take note. It's something that might be good vocabulary to practice with or an important concept. Okay, so if you see that symbol in the corner, it just means that if you're taking notes, it's a good time to write down important facts or maybe just make a double or triple note of what we're saying in your head as you're listening and watching. Notes are optional, but they are always good practice. All right, today, what am I learning? I'm going to learn background key terms to introduce the next lab. This includes understanding the difference between climate and weather. And hopefully you're familiar with those terms, but we'll give you some new definitions or some clarifying words. Why will we do this? It's so that we understand the causes and effects of climate. What causes our climates and what effects do our climates have. We want to think about how different ecosystems compare and how organisms are adapted to live in their ecosystems. Okay, that's our big idea there. All right, so just a quick reminder on taking temperatures. We have Fahrenheit as the units that we use for temperature in the United States usually, but scientists are going to use metric numbers, and so scientists will use Celsius. And when we did our ecosystems labs, when we had our aquatic ecosystems, we took room temperature and water temperature every time we measured those things, and we did that in Celsius. So we want to make sure we have kind of a good idea of equivalent numbers here. All right, so you can see just looking at the Celsius scale here, 20 degrees is the same as 68 degrees Fahrenheit. 68 is roughly the temperature of our classroom, so you can call that room temperature. Okay, Celsius with metric system, of course, this was designed to be more logical. And so if we have freezing a block of ice in Fahrenheit, it's going to be 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But Celsius, we designed that scale so that 0 degrees is freezing in Celsius. In Fahrenheit, water boils at 212 degrees. And so the person who made the Celsius scale made a mark on the thermometer and said, well, it's boiling at this point, we're going to call that 100. And then they just made even gradations all throughout that thermometer. Okay, so Celsius is trying to be more logical and straightforward. So 0 degrees Celsius is the same temperature as 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Boiling, again, 212 degrees Fahrenheit is the same temperature as 100 degrees Celsius. And room temperature is roughly 68 degrees. If we are 68 degrees Fahrenheit, that is about 20 degrees Celsius. All right, and so there is a mathematical formula that we can use so that if we get a temperature given to us in Celsius and we want to convert it to Fahrenheit, we can do that, and we can go the other way as well. But for right now, we're just going to compare these two thermometers. So if I know that some temperature is 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 50 degrees Fahrenheit over here, I'm going to look, and it is 10 degrees Celsius right over there. Okay, and if I want to find the degrees Fahrenheit for 35 degrees Celsius, now gosh, if 20 degrees is room temperature, 35 must be pretty warm, right? So 35 degrees Celsius, I'm going to come straight on over here, and that's actually going to end up being 100 degrees Fahrenheit over there. All right, so today I didn't actually give out any packets. That will come next class. Normally, if I give you a packet and it has something like this title and subtitle or subheader, normally I have you then read information and annotate it. But today we're not doing that. We're going to eventually do a Pear Deck. So the whole lab is about climate's effect. We are investigating the causes and the effects of climate. And it'll take us about 2 weeks, and we will test right before the winter break. All right, so take a look at these pictures. And you can pause the video if you want. I'm not going to run through 2 minutes, but I want you to think about qualitative observations and quantitative observations. Remember, qualitative, that is observations with your 5 senses. So you're going to see, smell, hear, taste, or feel. You're using adjectives generally. Quantitative means that we are counting or we have numbers involved. Okay, so a qualitative observation for this might be that some of the shrubs are red, might be that the terrain is rocky, there are big rocks. Quantitative for this one might be that this tree has 3 main branches coming off of it. We could count the number of clouds, or we can... It doesn't really lend itself to super good quantitative observations, but I could also say it looks dry. That looks like it's sandy soil, right? Over here, I can see that these trees have green leaves. So if I want to throw in some background knowledge as well, I can imagine that those leaves are green because they have chlorophyll in them. And that's just fun to know since we just finished learning about photosynthesis. Down along here, those look like taller grasses. And I see some kind of smoother rolling hills, and it doesn't look particularly green. I'm wondering if maybe that area is dry. So you can make lots of observations there, again, just by looking at the pictures. So you click us out of here. Okay, so then I have these 2 pictures I want you to take a look at. And hopefully you see that we have some tall evergreens, actually, tall trees over here. This is mist, this rainy mist. It's not smoke. And then over here, this looks pretty dry. These are shorter, scrubbier little bushes, right? And that's probably a much drier area. So here's what I know. These evergreen trees over here that are in a rainy mist are actually found in Seattle, Washington, the state of Washington. And over here, these dry and desert-like structures, they are also in Washington state, but they're in Spokane. Now, these 2 cities are only 400 miles apart, Seattle and Spokane. It's 400 miles is still a fair distance, but they're in the same state, and you can see they are vastly different characteristics. So if I look at the United States here, I can see this is Seattle, this is Spokane, and I'm going to zoom in. This is Frost Middle School over here. You can see Seattle is here near the, what is that? That's an ocean. And I've got Spokane. There is a mountain ridge right here in between Seattle and Spokane. So that's probably going to come into our thought process about why this was so much more dry than Seattle. All right, think about these questions as we go through our lesson today. What are the causes and effects of climate? How do the living and non-living factors of terrestrial, remember that's land-based, and aquatic, that's water-based, ecosystems compare? And in what ways are organisms suited to their environment? Okay, each one of these pictures, if you take a look, each one of these represents a different biome. It's a different area where all biomes that are like this have a similar amount of precipitation and a similar kind of vegetation and kind of animal that habitat that live in that area. So each one of these is a biome. This down here is our deciduous forest biome. That's actually where Virginia is. We are a deciduous forest biome. You can see an aquatic ocean biome, rainforest. So we're going to have to learn more about what that word biome means. And you have probably heard it, but we're going to dive in and get more information. So I have a video for you. Let's see if I can turn this video on for you. Okay, so sorry, it took me a second to get back to my spot. So after we watched that video, we had just some Pear Deck notes that we wanted to do. So I'm going to ask you to go into Pear Deck in Schoology, and you're going to, I'm sorry, I got to get myself there. So then you're going to go through that Pear Deck, and there's an exit ticket. So please do that, and then we'll check in for our day 2. Here we are. Okay, so just a quick reminder, biomes are regions of the earth that have similar climates and similar types of plants and animals. It's basically just a big ecosystem. So we're going to use the word ecosystem more than we're going to use the word biome. Each one of these different colors, if it's all kind of this reddish color, it's going to be this same biome definition. So they're going to be really similar temperature and elevation and precipitation and animals and things that live there. Okay, so the Pear Deck is in Schoology, and then you'll do your exit ticket as well. So let me see if I can click us onto the exit ticket. Maybe not, because I'm not sure I can get past this guy. So, okay, I'm just going to say go ahead and do your exit ticket. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have questions.